This is a review of Pythagorean theorem for the 8th grade. So let's go ahead and jump right into it here because there are examples right from the word go here. The question says the third-story window of a building is 12 meters above the ground. A firefighter places the base of a ladder 9 meters from the building. What length is necessary for the ladder to reach the window? Alright, so as you can see, as we look over here on the right side of the page, they've got an illustration for us. They say the third story of a window is 12 meters above the ground, which means this distance from the ground up to this window is 12 meters. And they say the firefighter places the base of the ladder 9 meters from the building. So the bottom of the ladder is 9 meters away from the building. And we're supposed to figure out how long the ladder would be here in order to reach that window. So what we have here, as you can see with the illustration here, and they conveniently drew in the mark here, is we have a right triangle, and we have two sides of that right triangle. Well, when we have two sides of a right triangle, we can use the Pythagorean theorem to find the missing side. The Pythagorean theorem says, as you can see here in the key concept box, it says that the sum of the lengths of the legs squared is equal to the length of the hypotenuse squared. Now, in case you don't remember, they've shown you right here what the legs and the hypotenuse are. The legs are the two sides that make the right angle or form the right angle, and the hypotenuse is the side that's across from the right angle. Or if you want me to say it a different way, it's the one that doesn't make the right angle. So the formula says take the legs and square those values and add them up. And that's going to be the same thing as this hypotenuse squared. So if we apply that to the question we're looking at here, I'm going to take my 12 and my 9 and square them and add them up. And that's going to be the same thing as the length of what is in this triangle, the ladder, being squared. Well, that's exactly what they're showing you right here in the work that's provided on the page. They're saying a squared plus b squared equals c squared. That's how we write the formula for Pythagorean theorem in general form, as you recall from when we did this earlier this year. A and b represent the legs. C is the hypotenuse. So the formula says take the lengths of the legs and square them. So if we come back to the drawing here, that's my 12 and my 9. So I'm going to take each one of those and square them and then add them up. So as you can see, that's what they're doing in the work here first. They're taking the 12 and squaring it and taking the 9 and squaring it and adding them up. Or 144 and 81 when you square them to be added, or 225. And that's going to be the same thing as the hypotenuse squared, or c squared in the formula. Well, 225 equals c squared. Now, problem. If we come back over here to where they drew the triangle for the reminder for us, notice that this side here does not say c squared. It just says c. So somehow to find my answer, I've got to get back from c squared to c. Well, to get from c squared back to c, what you do here is you go ahead and take the square root. Because we know by now that square root undoes square, just like subtraction undoes addition and multiplication undoes division. They're opposites of each other. So what they do to get from c squared, which we don't want, to c, which we do want, is we go ahead and take the square root. Well, when I go ahead and take the square root of c squared here, that gets me to c, and the square root of 225 is 15. So the ladder has to be 15 meters long to reach the window from the ground when it's 9 meters away from the building. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at the example that's worked out here at the bottom of the page. In the question that's worked out here at the bottom of the page, it says a television screen measures 20 inches along its diagonal. That's how they measure a TV screen. They measure its diagonal. So when you buy a 44-inch TV, that's 44 inches on the diagonal. And it measures 15 inches along its base. They want to know what's the height of the television screen to the nearest tenth. Let A equal 15 and C equal 20. And that's exactly what they've got right here in the illustration for us. Okay, So it's 20 inches along the diagonal, and it's 15 inches along its base. And from that, we're expected to be able to find how tall this is. Now, as you can see here, they've kind of drawn this in. Here's your right angle marker. So here's one of the legs of the right triangle, because again, the legs are the two sides that make up the right angle. I'll draw an arrow so I can clarify where that is. This has to be my hypotenuse, because the hypotenuse is across from the right angle. It's one of those, one of the sides that is not making up the right angle. So clearly here, what we're missing is one of the legs, and as you can see, they've labeled that B. So that means they're asking me to find B here.